With spring practice starting today for the Florida Gators, I want to take a few minutes and talk about the Florida quarterback competition. And there's a lot of different offensive storylines going on in camp, from the running backs to who's going to step up from the wide receiver position, but none bigger than the quarterback position. And of course, that's all we do on this channel is cover quarterback. And depending when you're watching this video, there could be some potential developments that haven't happened yet. And so we do apologize. But again, this is the first day of camp that we are filming. And so we want to just put out a quick video and talk about who we think are the three main candidates in this quarterback competition. And real quick, before we get into the three quarterbacks, we put out a film breakdown over what Billy Napier's offense kind of looks like. And so if you're interested in that, I'd encourage you to go back and kind of check out that video. But just real quick to kind of give a recap, you're going to see a lot of different motions. You're going to see the tight end used, and you're going to see some play action passes. You're going to want to see the run game established, right? I think Napier's lowest percentage running the ball was like 55% out of all his offensive plays at Louisiana. I could be wrong, but I remembered it whenever I filmed that video. But if you're interested in kind of learning more about Napier's offense, I encourage you to go back and watch that video. So with that said, let's dive into the quarterbacks. Let's talk about Anthony Richardson first, right? And Anthony Richardson, when it comes to mind, when you say Richardson, you think of big play ability. Now, I know he's going to be limited in camp due to still recovering from the knee injury, right? But I still think from Florida fans and kind of the feel I'm getting, I still think he is, once he gets healthy, probably the favorite, especially with Jones kind of flirting with the transfer portal and whatnot, right? But when it comes to Richardson, and we talked about this in the last Florida quarterback video, his biggest thing is just playing within the offense, right? I think if he can just manage and play within the offense, play with Napier's offense, I think he'll find some success because I think that big play ability is always going to be there. If we look back from the 2021 season, the first two games of the year against South Florida and FAU, he had 275 yards on the ground, and that accounted for the majority of his rushing yards, right? So he had 275 yards out of his 401 yards on the ground in the season in the first two games. Had a total of 9 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, and so was playing off and on, a lot of big playability, and then once he kind of injured himself, wasn't able to participate like he usually could. And the game against LSU, I thought he actually played pretty well at times too, right, with 4 touchdowns. And then against Georgia, the clips we're watching right now, he showed some good things. I think he showed that he could fit into Napier's offensive system nicely. I think he's got, of course, abundance of tools. And then I know that game kind of got out of hand at the end of the second quarter. But Anthony Richardson, big playability, but you want to see him just learn the offense, roll with the offense, because naturally his big playability is always going to be there. If he just takes the little things and gives what the offense or gives what the defense gives him, I think he can be really, really good. So let's move on to Emory Jones, right? The starter last year started 12 of the 13 games for the Gators, and I know mixed feelings throughout the Florida Gator fan base. But the word that comes to me when describing Emory Jones is inconsistency, right? He was plagued by inconsistencies. And it wasn't like he had a bad game, good game, bad game, good game. It was like within the games, he would have some really, really good plays, make some good reads, do something good on the ground, and then you would see an interception. And you're just thinking, man, what's going on with that, right? And then sometimes the interceptions seem to kind of snowball. I think he had 4 games of multiple interceptions and led the nation in interceptions with 13, right? I'm sure Gator fans are sick of hearing everyone talk about that. I know he's sick of hearing everyone talk about that, but I had to at least mention it. And I think what plagued him was, I think he was hesitant at times, right? He would see a receiver open, he would wait a little bit, and then he would throw it once that receiver is kind of out of that open zone and kind of covered, right? So I think that's what kind of plagued Emory Jones. But I still think from a tool set, he has all the tools to fit Napier's offense. Again, go back, check out that Napier offensive kind of scheme video. He's got all the tools to fit Napier's offense. He can run the ball. Very, very good runner, right? And if he can just take care of the ball, then he's got a shot to improve on what he did last year. If he is the guy, I don't even know if he's going to be there in the fall, right? I know he was in a transfer portal, and he wasn't. He was flirting, so I'll let the reporters kind of report on that. But again, tool set, it's there. He just has to limit the interceptions, and then he could have a shot to be pretty good, right? Because he did have 2 really good games. I know I'm speaking a little bit on Jones, but the games against Tennessee and Alabama, after he threw that, I think he had 1 pick against Alabama, but after they were down 21-3, led that comeback, right? And the next game against Tennessee, played really, really good. But besides those games, there's kind of this inconsistency throughout the season. But still has the experience, and at least he's been in some pretty big games. Let's move on to the last guy we're going to talk about, and that's Jack Miller, the transfer from Ohio State. And I'm not sure how many fans know much about, or how many Florida fans know much about Jack Miller, but I think this guy's a dark horse, right? I think he lost the competition at Ohio State to the most talented quarterback room in the nation, right? So I don't think that's anything that should be held against him. And you're seeing some high school clips of him right now. The film I have on him from the spring game is kind of grainy and not very good. So I just kept the high school film. But if you want to go watch the clips from the Ohio State spring game, I encourage you to go check that out. But Jack Miller is a good athlete. He has tools similar to what Jones has. Maybe not quite the athlete that Jones is, but he's got a tool set that's going to fit into Napier's offense, right? He's a more athletic quarterback than people think. He can throw the ball, and he's a pretty decently touted recruit, right? I think he was a 4-star. So again, his biggest tap is no experience in playing in the games like Jones and Richardson have. But I do think the talent's there. I do think the tool set's there, and I do think he could be developed in Napier's offense. It wouldn't totally surprise me to see him win the competition, right? But back to kind of wrap things up, I know there's a few other guys, younger guys that are in the competition from Kitna and Del Rio, I believe, and one of those could win it as well. But for the sake of the video, we're just sticking with these 3 guys. Don't think we'll have an answer at spring camp just because Richardson is kind of limited. It would be telling to see who's leading with Miller and Jones. It wouldn't surprise me to see Jones kind of steady the ship, but at the same time, I think Miller's a talented guy who could come in and really battle for those #1 reps. So again, we'll have a better idea after spring camp, but I don't think this competition is going to be over until the end of fall camp when Richardson is not limited in what he can do. But I want to hear from you. Who do you think is going to win the quarterback competition here at Florida? I know this is just a brief 7-8 minute video, and we'll keep tabs in this competition, kind of keep breaking it down over the spring practice. But let us know who you think is going to win this competition and why. And if one of the guys that I didn't talk about is going to win, let us know in the comments below. And if you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really does help. Like, comment, all that fun YouTube stuff. It helps with all the algorithm and all that stuff. But we cover a lot of SEC quarterbacks and just a lot of quarterback content in general. So again, like the video, subscribe, all that stuff. Let us know in the comments below who's going to win this competition and why. We'll see you next time on the next quarterback related video.